Hello, welcome to the Sound of Science, the place where we deconstruct unscientific bogus and silly scams. Let's go get them.
If a random change to computer code doesn't create new software, then why would a random change to DNA create a new species?
Yeah, he really said that, and I'm afraid that was a serious question. So, as it appears, I found another Christian fool on YouTube who thinks he has some intellectual challenges for people who do not believe his silly Bible book. I think his name is Armand Scipione. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that. I think his last name might have some Italian origin. Anyway, this guy actually compares computer software to DNA, and he says if a random mutation in computer code doesn't lead to new software, then why would a random mutation in DNA lead to a new species? This question is so wrong on so many levels, and it demonstrates such a blatant misunderstanding of what DNA is and how mutation of DNA works that it makes you wonder if this guy ever read anything that refutes his ideas before uploading his video. So let's talk about that.
If a random change to computer code doesn't create new software, then why would a random change to DNA create a new species?
The first problem with this question comes from the basic comparison that he makes, comparing computer code to DNA. It's a trick that many Christian apologists try to pull off, but it's basically a scam. What they do is they mention words like code, information, and programming in the same sentence where they use the word DNA, probably in an attempt to suggest some connection or similarity between DNA and these other things in a way that both computer code and DNA were supposedly designed. That is what a certain type of Christians wants you to start believing, while in reality this idea is just their fantasy. Computer code was deliberately designed and created by man. We've got tons of evidence for that. We can identify the designers of that computer code. We can observe them during the working process. We can assess their design tools. We can visit the universities and colleges where these computer code experts were educated. We can analyze the entire history of how computer code was developed by human beings, etc. Now, try that with DNA. We've got nothing that demonstrates that DNA was somehow designed. We cannot identify the designers. We cannot study the design process. We cannot assess their design tools because we have no evidence that any of that exists. So there's no reason to believe that DNA is designed. DNA is so fundamentally different from computer code that this comparison is very much on the level of if pigs can't fly, then why do birds have wings? It's just two things that got nothing to do with each other. But of course there are more and even more silly problems regarding this guy's question.
If a random change to computer code doesn't create new software, then why would a random change to DNA create a new species?
So, let's go to the most fundamental misunderstanding of this guy's video. He seems to suggest that a random mutation in DNA leads to a new species, which, in the way that he is trying to portray this, is nonsense. The idea that a random mutation of DNA leads to the next generation being a new species relative to the previous generation is total hogwash. There is no scenario in which we have a monkey and then one random genetic mutation occurs and then the children of this monkey will be fish. That does not happen. Christian apologists like to pretend that the theory of evolution claims such ridiculous things, but no evolutionary biologist has ever suggested anything like that. Often it's hard to assess if these Christian apologists are so dumb that they honestly believe that the theory of evolution claims such nonsense, or that these Christian apologists are just here to misrepresent and discredit the theory of evolution. I am afraid that the latter is rather common. So, no, a random change in DNA does not lead to a new species relative to the previous generation. In general, random changes in DNA lead to very small changes in the properties of an organism. Its hair becomes a bit darker, its nose gets a bit bigger, it gets an extra finger or an extra toe, stuff like that. So, the next generation is not a new species relative to the previous generation. However, the next generation is a new species relative to, for example, 10,000 generations ago, because all these little insignificant changes, in the long term, they add up to big changes, resulting in a new species relative to a large number of generations ago. Now, back to computer code. Why does it work differently? Because it's totally different from DNA. Computer code is written in a language that was designed by humans, and humans often work for organizations that demand efficiency. Therefore, computer languages are written in a strictly functional way, meaning that tiny mistakes in coding often result in software or parts of the software being dysfunctional. Anyone who has ever written any computer code knows how this works. You forgot to put some brackets around some random number. Bingo. Software crashes, doesn't work anymore. You forgot to put a question mark behind some variable. Again, software is broken. If the computer coding industry wants to prevent that, they've got to develop languages that have much more tolerance towards coding mistakes. And that in itself makes computer languages much more complicated, less efficient, and slower. And we don't want that. So, our computer coding languages are very minimalistic, efficient, and fast. But the price we pay for that is that even small errors in computer code can make software completely dysfunctional. So, if computer code displays small random mutations, it of course would not lead to another kind of functional software. That is not how computer languages are designed. The question that this pastor or preacher is asking, I think, is stupid or dishonest. And again, with these Christian apologists, it's often hard to determine which one of these options applies. Well, that was it for today. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel. And if you don't, then no worries, because I won't flood your entire city, and I won't throw you into the lakes of fire. If you reject my ideas, then I will forgive you. No strings attached. No need to worship me. No need to read a silly holy book. No obligation to sit on the lap of some creepy preacher. No, if you don't like my videos, you can separate from me without any punishment. And that is because I'm much nicer than the Christian God. Thanks for watching.